The list went up on the screen, and every cadet in the hall stopped breathing. Survival exam assignments. 30 names, 30 planets. 30 chances to prove you deserved to wear the uniform of the Galactic Military Academy. Most cadets got Category 4 or Category 5 worlds. Harsh but survivable. A few unlucky ones pulled Category 6. Hard, dangerous, but still within the range of what a trained soldier could handle. Then the last name appeared, and the hall went completely silent. Cadet Ravi Dolan. Varith 6. Category 9. Nobody moved. Nobody whispered. Even the cadets who hated Ravi, who mocked him daily, who called him the soft little human behind his back. Even they looked uncomfortable. Category 9 meant the planet itself was trying to kill you every second. Toxic air pockets. Kushin Gravity Zone. Predators the size of ground transports. Weather that could shift from calm to lethal in minutes. No cadet in Academy history had ever been assigned a Category 9 world for the survival exam. Nira, the top-ranked Kalathi cadet, for arms crossed over her armored chest, turned to look at Ravi across the room. She expected to see fear. She expected the human to protest, to beg, to ask for reassignment. Humans were soft. Everyone knew that. They were small, slow, had no claws, no armor plating, no venom glands, no secondary hearts. The fact that humans had been admitted to the Academy at all was considered a political decision, not a military one. Ravi did not protest. He did not beg. He stood in the back row, checked the seal on his gear bag, and pulled out a small recording device. He turned it on, held it up to his face, and said quietly, "Hey kiddo, got my assignment. Looks like a fun one." He was talking to his sister back on Earth. He had promised her he would film everything. Commander Shurith, a tall Palori officer with silver-gray skin and eyes like polished stone, watched from the front of the hall. She had opposed this assignment. She had told the senior board that sending a human to Varith 6 was not a test. It was an execution. The board had overruled her. Humans needed to be evaluated under the same standards as everyone else, they said. No special treatment. Shurith had said nothing more, but her jaw had tightened in a way that her staff recognized as fury. The drop ships launched at dawn. 30 cadets, 30 pods, 30 worlds. Ravi sat alone in his pod as it punched through the atmosphere of Varith 6. The hull shook. Warning lights flashed. The onboard computer listed the surface conditions in a calm voice. Atmospheric toxicity moderate to severe. Gravity 1.4 standard. Surface temperature fluctuating. Predator density extreme. Estimated survival probability for a human organism 11%. Ravi turned off the computer and opened his recorder. Entering atmosphere now. The ship says I have an 11% chance. I have had worse odds on a math exam. He smiled, but his hands were steady and his eyes were sharp. The pod hit the surface hard. The door blew open and the air of Varith 6 rushed in. It was hot, thick, and carried a smell like burning metal and rotting vegetation. The sky was a deep orange streaked with clouds that moved too fast in too many directions. The ground was dark volcanic rock covered in patches of something that looked like moss but pulsed faintly, as if it was breathing. Ravi stepped out. The gravity hit him immediately. Every step felt like carrying an extra person on his back. His lungs worked harder. His heart rate climbed. He adjusted his breathing, slowed his movements, and started scanning the terrain. The jungle began about 200 meters from the landing site. Massive trees with bark like rusted iron rose into the orange sky. Vines as thick as a human torso hung between them, some of them moving on their own. Sounds came from inside the tree line. Deep sounds. Grunting, clicking, the crack of something enormous stepping on something else that was also enormous. Ravi activated his wrist scanner. It picked up 17 distinct life signatures within a 500-meter radius. 12 of them were classified as predatory. 3 were classified as extremely predatory. 2 were classified as unknown, which usually meant the scanner could not figure out how dangerous they were because nothing in its database matched. He shouldered his pack, checked his basic survival blade, and walked toward the jungle. Behind him, the drop pod sealed itself and launched back into orbit. There was no going back. 30 days. Alone. On a world that had earned its Category 9 rating by killing 3 automated survey teams before they could finish their reports. Ravi spoke into his recorder as he moved. Day 1. Planet is gorgeous in a terrifying kind of way. Air tastes like a chemistry experiment. Gravity is rough but manageable. Wildlife sounds large and angry. Standard situation. He made it about 400 meters into the jungle before the first attack. Something burst from the undergrowth to his left. It was fast, low to the ground, covered in spines, and had a mouth that opened in 3 directions at once. Ravi dropped, rolled, and came up with his blade. The creature overshot him, crashed into a tree, shook itself, and came again. Ravi did not run. He planted his feet, watched the angle of its charge, and sidestepped at the last second, dragging his blade along its flank. The creature screamed, sprayed dark fluid from the wound, and fled into the brush. Ravi stood there, breathing hard, blood on his blade that was not his. He looked into the recorder. First contact. Not friendly, but I'm still here. He wiped the blade on his leg and kept walking. Behind him, deeper in the jungle, something much larger than the spine creature had been watching. It did not attack. It followed, and it was curious. 5 days on Verith, 6 had already taught Ravi more than 4 years at the academy. The textbooks had theories about Deathworlds. The planet had facts, and the facts were simple. Move or die. Learn or die. Hesitate and absolutely die. He had built and abandoned 3 shelters in 5 days. The first was destroyed by a windstorm that came out of nowhere and ripped trees from the ground. The second was found by a pack of low-slung predators that chewed through the walls in minutes. The third he left voluntarily after discovering the ground beneath. It was a nest for something that vibrated the soil in a way that made his teeth ache, that he moved constantly, slept in short bursts, ate what his scanner confirmed was safe, and documented everything. His recorder was always running. Plant behavior, predator patterns, weather cycles, terrain changes. He spoke into it like he was narrating a nature documentary for his sister. Day 5. Learned that the red vine clusters release a paralyzing mist at dusk. Good to know. Also learned that the 6-legged things with the flat heads hunt in relay teams. One chases you until you are tired, then another takes over. Smart. Annoying, but smart. Back at the academy, his signal was still active. This surprised everyone. Instructor Dan, a scarred veteran with a missing arm and 1 functioning eye, had been quietly monitoring Ravi's feed since day 1. He said nothing to anyone. He just watched. The human was adapting faster than any cadet Dan had ever seen on any world. Not because he was stronger or faster. He was neither, but he learned. Every encounter, every near-death moment, every failure became data that he processed and applied immediately. He did not make the same mistake twice that on the morning of day 6. The sky turned a color Ravi had not seen before. A sick yellow-green that made the air taste even worse than usual. His scanner beeped a warning. Acid storm. Incoming. Estimated arrival, 40 minutes. Ravi ran. He needed shelter. Real shelter. Something the acid rain could not eat through. He found it in a cave system carved into a rocky hillside about 3 kilometers from his position. He made it inside with minutes to spare. The rain began, and outside, the jungle hissed and steamed as the acid ate into everything it touched. The cave was deep, dark, and cooler than the surface. Ravi activated his wrist light and moved carefully inward, scanning for threats. The scanner showed no life signs. He relaxed slightly, found a flat section of rock, and sat down to catch his breath. Then he heard it, a low, wet, rattling sound, coming from deeper inside the cave. He should have left. Every survival protocol said to avoid unknown sounds in enclosed spaces on a death world. But the acid storm outside would kill him in seconds. He had no choice but to stay. He followed the sound. His light cut through the darkness and found the source. A creature, massive, the size of a large tiger but built heavier, with 6 powerful legs, a broad armored head, and scales that caught his light and threw back faint blue and green bioluminescent patterns. It was an apex predator. He recognized the species classification from his scanner. Top of the food chain on Virath-6. IT was also dying that a deep wound ran along its side, exposing muscle and cracked armor plating. Dark blood pooled beneath it. Something bigger had attacked it and nearly won. The creature's breathing was the rattling sound he had heard. Labored. Fading, its eyes found Ravi. They were large, deep amber, and filled with something that was not mindless animal rage. It was pain and awareness. The creature knew it was dying, and it knew Ravi was there. Ravi crouched slowly. He set down his blade. He opened his medical kit. "Okay," he said quietly. "I know you can probably still bite my head off even in this condition, but I'm going to help you, because that is what I do." He worked slowly. He cleaned the wound with antiseptic solution designed for human tissue, but close enough in chemistry to work on carbon-based life. He sealed the deepest parts with surgical adhesive. He packed the wound with sterile gauze. The creature flinched, growled once, and then went still. It watched him with those amber eyes the entire time that IT took 2 hours. The acid storm raged outside. Inside the cave, a human sat beside a dying alien predator and kept it alive through the night. He talked to it the whole time. Nonsense mostly. Stories about Earth, about his sister, about how bad the Academy food was. The creature's breathing steadied. The bleeding slowed. By morning, it was still alive. Ravi woke up with the creature's enormous head resting 3 inches from his leg. It had moved closer to him during the night. Not to attack. To be near him. He looked at it for a long time. Then he held up his recorder. Day 6. Found a friend. I'm going to call him Biro. He is terrifying and beautiful, and I think he just decided I belong to him. He paused. Or maybe I belong to him. Either way, I'm not alone anymore. At the Academy, Instructor Din pulled up the footage feed, saw the image of a human sitting beside a Category 9 apex predator in a cave, and his one good, I went wide. He reached for his communicator and called Commander Shurith directly. "You need to see this," he said. Right now, Biro would not let Ravi out of his sight. That was the first thing Ravi noticed on day 7. The creature followed him out of the cave once the acid storm cleared, limping on its 6 legs, but moving with a determination that had nothing to do with hunting. It stayed close. When Ravi stopped, Biro stopped. When Ravi moved, Biro moved. When a mid-sized predator came too close to their path, Biro turned its armored head toward the threat and released a sound from deep in its chest that shook the ground under Ravi's boots. The predator vanished into the trees. Day 7. Ravi said into his recorder, "Biro is up and mobile. Still wounded, but functional. He has decided he is my bodyguard. I did not ask for this. I am not complaining." Over the next 10 days, something happened that no xenobiologist in the galaxy would have predicted. The human and the apex predator became a team. Not a master and a pet. Not a handler and a beast. A partnership built on trust that deepened with every passing hour. Ravi hunted. Biro hunted. They shared kills. Ravi would cook his portion over a fire, and Biro would eat his raw, sitting beside the flames with his bioluminescent markings glowing softly in the firelight. Ravi treated Biro's wound daily, changing the bandages, checking for infection. Biro sat still for the treatment every time, those amber eyes watching Ravi's hands with complete trust that on day 10, Ravi discovered that Biro understood him. Not just tone, but actual commands. He said, "Stay," and Biro stayed. He said, "Come," and Biro came. He pointed at a water source and said, "Safe," and Biro either moved toward it or turned away, and every time Ravi checked with his scanner, Biro was right. The creature knew this world. It knew what was poison and what was food, what was safe ground and what was a trap. Ravi filmed everything. His recordings shifted from pure survival logs to something else entirely. He documented Biro's intelligence, his emotional responses, his behavior patterns. He noted that Biro purred when Ravi scratched the softer scales behind his jaw. He noted that Biro positioned himself between Ravi and any threat before Ravi was even aware the threat existed. He noted that at night, Biro curled around Ravi's sleeping position like a living fortress, one eye always half open, watching. Day 14, Ravi said, sitting on a rock while Biro dozed beside him. I have been studying him as much as he has been studying me. He is not just an animal. There is something happening behind those eyes. Problem solving, memory, maybe even empathy. When I was sick 2 days ago from a bad water source, he brought me food, dropped it right in front of me, nudged it closer when I did not move. That is not instinct. That is care. At the academy, the situation was becoming complicated. Instructor Dan had been sharing selected clips from Ravi's feed with senior staff. The footage was extraordinary. A human, the weakest species in the academy, surviving on the deadliest planet in the catalog, and doing it alongside a bonded apex predator. Nothing in galactic records matched it. Commander Shurith watched the footage in her office, alone, 3 times. She watched Ravi talk to the creature. She watched the creature respond. She watched a human bleed from a wound on his arm, and the beast lick the area around it gently, carefully, the way a parent would tend to a child. She turned off the screen and sat in the dark for a long time. She called Instructor Den to her office. Has any species in the academy ever bonded with a Category 9 apex predator? Den shook his head. No. The Kalathi tried once on a Category 7 world. The creature killed 2 of their best soldiers before they retreated. The Paulori do not attempt it at all. No species does. These animals are not tameable. And yet that human is sleeping beside one. He is not taming it, Din said carefully. That is the point. He is not dominating it or controlling it. He is just being with it, helping it. The creature chose to stay. Shurith's silver eyes narrowed. That makes it worse. Word spread among the cadets. Somehow, clips from Ravi's feed leaked beyond the senior staff. Within 2 days, every cadet in the academy had seen fragments. The human sitting by a fire with a massive predator at his side. The human running through the jungle with the beast keeping pace beside him. The human laughing while the creature nudged him with its enormous head. Nira watched the footage alone in her quarters. She had mocked Ravi for 4 years. Called him fragile. Called him a waste of a uniform. Now she was watching him do something she could never do. Something no Kalathi warrior in history had ever done. She closed the feed, stared at the wall, and felt something she had never felt before. She did not know the human word for it. But the closest translation was shame. On Varith 6, Ravi did not know he had an audience. He was too busy surviving. He and Byro moved through the jungle together, a rhythm forming between them that felt natural, ancient, like it had always been this way. 2 predators from different worlds, walking side by side. Day 16, Ravi said into his recorder, while Byro slept in a patch of weak sunlight that broke through the canopy. I came here alone. I'm not alone anymore. And I think that is the most human thing I have ever done. The sky split open on day 22. Not slowly, not with warning. One moment the orange clouds hung low and heavy. The next the entire horizon turned black and the wind hit like a wall. Ravi had survived acid storms, heat surges, and predator ambushes. This was different. His scanner screamed a single word before the signal cut out. Superstorm. Varith 6 produced a planetary superstorm roughly once every 3 years. When it came, it scoured the surface clean. Winds that could hurl boulders. Rain that carried enough acid to dissolve bone. Lightning that struck in chains, one bolt after another, turning the jungle into a burning maze. The storm lasted anywhere from 12 to 40 hours, and anything caught on the surface during that time simply ceased to exist. Ravi grabbed his gear and ran. Byro was already moving, the beast's instincts reading the atmospheric shift before any scanner could. They sprinted together through the jungle as the sky collapsed behind them. Trees bent and snapped. The ground shook. Ravi could feel the pressure change in his ears, his chest, his teeth. Byro led him to the cave system. Not the one where they had first met, but a deeper network carved into the base of a mountain ridge. The entrance was narrow, barely wide enough for Byro to squeeze through, which meant anything bigger could not follow. They pushed inside as the first wave of the storm hit the mountainside with a sound like the world ending. They went deep. Ravi used his wrist light to navigate the twisting passages. The air was cooler here, stale but breathable. The walls were wet with mineral seepage. They found a wide chamber about 200 meters in and stopped. Outside, the storm hammered the mountain. Inside, the sound was a constant low roar that vibrated through the rock. Ravi checked his supplies. 7 days of rations left. Water, filter functional. Medical kit half empty. Blades still sharp. Recorders still running. He sat against the wall and let himself breathe. Byro settled beside him, the beast's massive body radiating heat. The bioluminescent markings along Byro's scales pulsed slowly in the dark, casting a faint blue-green glow across the chamber. It was almost peaceful that IT stayed peaceful for about 3 hours. The first sound came from below, a scraping, clicking noise that echoed up through cracks in the cave floor. Ravi's hand went to his blade. Byro's head came up, ears flat, a low growl building in his throat. Something was down there. Many somethings. They came through the floor. Pale, eyeless, fast. Subterranean predators that lived in the deep cave networks and came up to feed when the superstorms drove surface animals underground. They were the size of large dogs, with hooked claws and jaws that hinged open impossibly wide. They poured into the chamber in a wave. Ravi fought. There was no strategy, no technique, no time to think. He slashed with his blade, kicked, punched, used a burning torch made from his last emergency flare to drive them back. They came from every direction. He killed 3, 4, 5, and more kept coming. Byro fought beside him. The beast was a force of nature in the enclosed space, his 6 legs bracing against the rock as he tore into the attackers with claws and teeth. His armored head swung like a battering ram, crushing the pale creatures against the walls. But there were too many, and the chamber was too dark, and the creatures kept coming from below. Ravi took a hit. Claws raked across his ribs, tearing through his suit and into flesh. He gasped, stumbled, and went down on one knee. Another creature lunged at his throat. Byro intercepted it midair, jaws closing with a crack that echoed through the cave. The beast stood over Ravi, straddling him with his 6 legs, and roared. The sound in the enclosed space was deafening. The remaining creatures hesitated, then scattered back into the cracks in the floor. They did not come back. Ravi lay on the cold stone, bleeding, his chest on fire. Broken ribs, at least 2. Deep gashes across his torso and left arm. Blood loss making his vision swim. Byro stood over him, the beast bleeding from a dozen wounds of his own, but refusing to move. Refusing to leave. Ravi reached up and touched Byro's jaw. The creature lowered its massive head until it rested against Ravi's shoulder. The bioluminescent markings pulsed faster, as if responding to the pain, the fear, the bond between them. Ravi fumbled for his recorder with his good hand. He held it up, the tiny lens capturing his bloodied face and the beast standing guard above him. Day 22, he said, his voice thin. Superstorm drove us underground. Cave predators attacked. We held. I am hurt. Byro is hurt. But we are alive. He paused, coughed, tasted blood. They wanted this planet to break me. I think it made me something else. He passed out. Byro did not move. The beast laid down around Ravi's body, forming a wall of armor and muscle and warmth, and stayed that way through the night. Its amber eyes glowed in the darkness, watching every shadow, every crack, every sound. The academy. The footage streamed in. Cadets gathered in common rooms. Officers watched from their quarters, and nobody spoke. They saw the human fight in the dark. They saw the beast stand over him. They saw Ravi bleeding and still talking into his recorder. Commander Shurith ordered the feed restricted to senior staff only. But it was already too late. Every species in the academy had seen it. The whispers that followed were not mockery anymore. They were something else entirely. Something quieter and much more dangerous. They were respect. 30 sunrises on Varith 6. Ravi counted everyone, not because he was waiting for rescue, because each one meant he had survived another night, and after the cave attack, that was no longer something he took for granted. His ribs healed slowly. The gashes across his torso closed into rough scars that pulled when he moved. He rationed the last of his medical supplies carefully, saving most of them for Byro, whose wounds were deeper and slower to seal. Every morning, Ravi cleaned the beast's injuries, applied what was left of the antiseptic, and talked to him. Byro sat still through every treatment, his amber eyes calm, his massive head tilted slightly as if listening to every word. By day 28, they were both moving again. Not fast, not strong, but together. Ravi had lost weight. His suit hung loose. His face was thinner, darker, older than the 22-year-old who had stepped out of the drop pod a month ago. But his eyes were different too. Sharper, steadier. Whatever this planet had tried to take from him, it had given something back. Day 30 arrived with a quiet dawn. The orange sky was almost gentle for once, the wind low, the air carrying the faint metallic taste that Ravi had learned to ignore weeks ago. He stood at the edge of the jungle and looked up. Somewhere above the clouds, an extraction shuttle was coming down. He looked at Byro. The beast stood beside him, fully healed now except for the scar along his flank where the wound had been. His bioluminescent markings glowed faintly in the early light. 6 legs planted solid on the volcanic rock. Amber eyes watching Ravi with an intelligence that had only deepened over the past month. "They are coming to get me," Ravi said. Byro tilted his head. "I am not leaving without you. You know that, right?" The shuttle appeared 20 minutes later. It came in hard and fast, burning through the atmosphere with the urgency of a mission that expected to recover a corpse. The pilot, a Kalathi officer named Finn, had done 6 extraction runs this cycle. 3 cadets had been recovered alive. 2 had been recovered dead. 1 had not been recovered at all. He expected the human to be the worst of the lot. The shuttle landed in a clearing half a kilometer from the jungle edge. Finn powered down the engines, opened the rear hatch, and stepped out with a medical kit and a body bag. Standard equipment for a Category 9 extraction that he saw movement at the Trilene and Froze Point 2 figures emerge from the jungle. One was human, battered, scarred, thin, walking with a slight limp, but walking upright. The other was something that made Finn drop the medical kit and reach for his sidearm. A Category 9 apex predator, massive, armored, bioluminescent, walking calmly at the human side like it belonged there. Finn's hand trembled on his weapon. "Cadet Dolan, step away from the creature." Slowly, Ravi stopped. Byro stopped beside him. The beast's eyes locked onto Finn and the shuttle with calm assessment. "No aggression, no fear, just awareness." "His name is Byro," Ravi said. "He is coming with me." "That is not possible. Academy protocol does not allow uncleared fauna on military transport." "Then clear him." Finn stared. "Cadet, that thing is a Class A apex predator. It could tear through this shuttle in seconds." "He will not." Ravi put his hand on Byro's neck. The beast leaned into the touch, his markings pulsing gently. "He saved my life. More than once. I am not leaving him here." Finn called it in. The response from the Academy was immediate and firm. Negative. No alien fauna on the shuttle. The cadet would board alone or not at all. Ravi sat down on a rock. Byro settled beside him. They waited. The standoff lasted 4 hours. Finn paced beside the shuttle. Ravi did not move. Byro did not move. The planet continued its slow rotation beneath the orange sky, indifferent to all of them. Commander Shurith arrived personally on a second shuttle. She stepped onto the surface of Varith 6 for the first time in her career and immediately understood why it was Category 9. The air hit her lungs like poison. The gravity dragged at her bones. And the jungle behind the human pulsed with sounds that made her combat instinct scream. She walked toward Ravi. Byro rose to his feet, placing himself between the human and the approaching officer. Shurith stopped. She was a decorated military commander. She had fought in 3 wars. She had never felt the kind of primal, intelligent threat that radiated from this creature. It was not rage. It was protection. "Tell it to stand down," Shurith said. "He does not take orders," Ravi replied. "He makes choices. And right now, he is choosing to protect me. If you're not a threat, he will know." Shurith stood very still. Byro studied her. Those amber eyes moved across her face, her posture, her hands. After a long moment, the beast stepped aside. Not away, just enough to let her pass. Shurith looked at Ravi, then at Byro, then back at Ravi. You understand that no species in galactic history has achieved what you have done here. I did not achieve anything. I just did not leave when it would have been easier to leave. Shurith was silent for a 10 count. Then she turned to Fen. Open the cargo bay. Full width. The creature boards with the cadet. The flight back to the Academy station took 6 hours. Ravi sat on the cargo bay floor with Byro curled beside him, the beast's head resting on his leg. Shurith sat across from them and did not speak the entire flight. She just watched. A human and a Deathworld predator resting together in silence, breathing in the same rhythm, like two halves of something that had always been waiting to become whole. The station docking bay was full when they landed. Word had spread. Every cadet, every officer, every instructor lined the corridors. The cargo bay door opened. Ravi walked out. Byro walked beside him. Nobody made a sound. Nobody moved. They just watched. The auditorium had never been this full. Every seat was taken and bodies lined the walls 3 deep. Cadets from 12 different species stood shoulder to shoulder with instructors and senior officers, all of them facing the massive display screen at the front of the room. The air had the weight of something historic, and everyone in the hall could feel it. Commander Shurith stood at the podium. She did not make a speech. She simply said, "Play the footage." The screen lit up. Day 1. Ravi stepping out of the drop pod onto the volcanic surface of Varith 6. His voice came through the speakers, clear and calm. Day 1. Everything here wants to kill me. So, normal Tuesday. A few cadets in the audience almost smiled. Most did not. They knew what was coming. The footage played in compressed form. 30 days condensed into 90 minutes of the most extraordinary survival documentation the Academy had ever seen. Ravi fighting off the spine creature on day 1. Ravi building shelters that the planet destroyed. Ravi adapting, learning, moving, refusing to stop. His voice narrated everything with the steady patience of someone who had decided that fear was a luxury he could not afford. Then day 6. The cave. The wounded beast. The audience went silent as they watched Ravi set down his blade and open his medical kit beside a creature that could have killed him with a single swipe. They watched him clean the wound, seal it, bandage it, talk to the animal through the night. They watched the creature's enormous head rest near the human's leg by morning. Nira, sitting in the 3rd row, pressed her 4 hands together so tightly the joints cracked. The footage continued. The bond forming. Ravi and Byro hunting together, eating together, moving through the jungle as a unit. The audience watched Ravi discover that Byro understood language, that the creature could assess threats before the scanner could, that it brought Ravi food when he was sick. They watched a Category 9 apex predator purr while a human scratched behind its jaw. Several xenobiology instructors were taking notes furiously. Others had stopped writing entirely and were simply staring. Then day 22. The superstorm. The cave predator attack. The audience watched Ravi fight in the dark with a blade and a burning flare while pale creatures poured from the ground. They watched him fall. They watched Byro stand over him, roaring in the enclosed space, driving the attackers back. They watched the beast curl around the unconscious human's body and stay there through the night that Ravi's voice, thin and bloody, came through the speakers. They wanted this planet to break me. I think it made me something else. Nobody in the auditorium was breathing. The final days played out. Recovery. Healing. 2 wounded survivors moving through the jungle together, slower but unbroken. Day 30. The extraction. Ravi refusing to leave. The standoff. Shurith's arrival. And in the moment that no one could look away from, Byro studying Shurith with those amber eyes and choosing, on his own, to let her pass. The screen went dark. The lights came up. The auditorium was silent for a long time. Commander Shurith returned to the podium. She looked out at the assembled cadets and officers and spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. Cadet Ravi Dolan has achieved the highest survival score in the history of the Galactic Military Academy. Not the highest human score. The highest score, by any species, on any world, in any era. The silence held. Then it broke. Not with applause. With something deeper. A murmur that rolled through the hall like a wave, species after species processing what they had just seen. Ravi was not in the auditorium. He was in the cargo bay with Byro, sitting on the floor, his back against the beast's side, waiting for the formal review to end. He did not care about scores or rankings. He cared about the creature beside him and the recording device in his hand. Nira found him there an hour later. She stood in the doorway, all four arms hanging loose at her sides, and looked at him. Byro's eyes tracked her, but the beast did not move. He knew her scent from the station. Not a threat, just a visitor. How? Nira asked. One word. No context needed. Ravi looked up at her. How what? How did you do it? How did you bond with that thing? Our best warriors could not do it. Our scientists said it was impossible. You were ranked last in the class. How? Ravi scratched Byro behind the jaw. The beast's markings pulsed softly. I talked to him, Ravi said. I stayed when it would have been easier to run. I helped when it would have been safer to walk away. That is what humans do. We do not dominate. We befriend. Nira stared at him for a long time. Then she did something no Kalathi warrior had ever done to a human in the history of the Academy. She lowered her head, a gesture of respect so deep it bordered on reverence. She left without another word. That night, Ravi sat in his quarters with Byro lying across the floor, the beast too large for the room, but unwilling to be anywhere else. Ravi uploaded his footage to the Galactic Network. All of it. 30 days, unedited, with a simple title. 30 days on Varith 6 with my friend. Within one standard day, it had more views than any content in galactic history. Every species watched. Kalathi warriors, Palori commanders, traders, scientists, diplomats, children on 100 different worlds. They watched a human and a beast survive together, and they asked the question that the Academy was already asking. What exactly are humans? Ravi did not answer the question. He did not need to. The footage spoke for itself. A soft, slow, fragile species that had no claws, no armor, no venom, had walked onto the deadliest world in the catalog, found a dying predator, and instead of running, had sat down and said, I'm going to help you. Byro shifted on the floor, his massive head finding its usual place against Ravi's leg. His bioluminescent markings dimmed to a soft, slow pulse. A purring sound rose from deep in his chest, low and steady, like an engine idling. Ravi leaned back, closed his eyes, and for the first time in 30 days, slept without watching the shadows. The galaxy watched a human sleep beside a monster. And the galaxy understood, perhaps for the first time, that the most dangerous species in the universe was not the one with the sharpest claws. It was the one that made monsters purr.